Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Danny the Miracle Man Jacobs did not get robbed, and we're going to break it down. So there's a lot of fanboys and biased channels out there, and even Danny Jacobs himself cannot take the L and hold it. Now, understand that Danny Jacobs, it was no blowout. The commentators on DAZN were extremely biased and didn't give Danny Jacobs any credit. Danny Jacobs is a very good competitor. He's an elite level fighter. And some people feel like Danny Jacobs is not elite. That's your opinion. But Danny Jacobs was a former world champion. He has shown and proven a lot. And he kept Canelo, in a good fight tonight. Canelo was not just running through Danny Jacobs. This was a good, interesting fight for Canelo. A different style. And he made a lot of adjustments. If, Danny Jacobs was an elite, Canelo would not have needed to make those adjustments. But nonetheless, Canelo made the adjustments. Canelo won the fight, and it was clear victory for Canelo Alvarez. I give Danny Jacobs his credit as being a good competitor. People need to give Canelo Alvarez the credit as being the better man. And that starts with Danny Jacobs. Danny Jacobs' first start and states that, Canelo doesn't hit as hard as Triple G. If Canelo doesn't hit as hard as Triple G, then why didn't you run through him? You've said multiple times leading up to this fight that you're the bigger, stronger man and that you believe you can stop Canelo. So why didn't you go for the stoppage? Because the counters were hard, the counters were crisp, and you had to respect Canelo Alvarez's power. That's the same type of rhetoric that makes these fanboys ooh and ah. Only an idiot would say that, Danny Jacobs was paid to lose. Only an idiot would say that Danny Jacobs was robbed. Even Danny Jacobs turns around and says, I feel I gave enough to get the win. How in the hell do you feel you gave enough to get the win when even if we don't just, look straight at the fight, if we just go to the punch stats, Canelo Alvarez had 188 to 131 lead over Danny Jacobs and landed punches, and he landed the harder punches, the crisper punches. What are you talking about, Danny? What are you talking about? And 58 of the 188 landed punches were body shots. That's why Danny Jacobs didn't want to run through Canelo. That's why he couldn't run through Canelo, because Canelo had an elite level game plan of attacking Danny Jacobs' body, and he knew that if Danny Jacobs kept coming in, if Danny Jacobs tried to rush him, he would have gotten stopped to the body. At the end of the day, Danny Jacobs knows this. Danny Jacobs felt those body shots, and that's why he didn't run over Canelo Alvarez. See, he said he didn't hit as hard as Triple G. Well, if he didn't, why didn't you just run through him? Because you couldn't. You felt those body shots, and you knew what they were. And, Danny Jacobs landed 20% of his total punches. 20% of his total punches. And in his previous 8 fights, he landed 32% of his total punches. Now, that goes to show you a 12% slip against an elite level Canelo Alvarez. I've said this many times, that Canelo Alvarez is like no opponent Danny Jacobs has ever faced. Danny Jacobs is a top level talent, but Canelo Alvarez seems to be on just a different planet these days. He's just number one pound for pound, and I don't see anybody touching him at this moment. Canelo Alvarez is a very, very special fighter, and he's going to be a problem for anybody that steps in that ring. Not only is he the face of boxing, he's the best fighter in boxing. He's proven that against top level competition. See, you have to understand that, with Danny Jacobs and Triple G, that was a close fight. And I edged Danny in that fight over Triple G. I think that Danny did enough. And if you would have gave it a draw, I think it was. But I think that giving it to Triple G didn't make any sense. But Danny Jacobs, you have to be honest and give credit where credit is due. Canelo Alvarez outboxed Danny Jacobs, made the right adjustments. And, and even just the punch stats. 20% of his total punches, and Canelo Alvarez landing landing much better. The body punches that Canelo Alvarez landed, 45%. Body punches Danny Jacobs landed, 24%. Total jabs, Canelo Alvarez landed 33%. Danny Jacobs, 14%. And total body punches landed, Danny Jacobs 20%, Canelo Alvarez 40%. See, that's the difference here, is because Canelo Alvarez was a busier fighter, more aggressive fighter, knew that his work rate had to be upped to beat Danny Jacobs, and that's exactly what he did. His defense was impeccable. This guy is number one pound for pound. No, Danny Jacobs did not get robbed. No, Danny Jacobs did not get cheated. Danny Jacobs cheated himself because he should have went for the knockout, but in going for the knockout would have gotten him knocked out. Once again, Unbiased, as always, it's the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.